You think you know the French Revolution, right? You envision the guillotine, the gigantic, terrifying blade. But what if I told you that the most horrific execution in history wasn't carried out by a machine, but by an enraged mob wielding nothing more than their bare hands? This is the harrowing story of Princess Lamballe, the best friend of Marie Antoinette, and the unimaginable fate that befell her on September 3, 1792. What this mob did to her is truly unbelievable. Tonight, we will uncover the verified facts surrounding her murder while also exposing the grotesque legends that have persisted over the years. This is a story steeped in intense loyalty, absolute terror, and the frightening ease with which a person can be transformed into a symbol of hate that demands destruction. Before she became public enemy number one, Lamballe led a vibrant life filled with the kind of drama that could only be found in the pages of history. Born Marie-Thérèse Louise de Savocaron in Italy in 1749 to an immensely wealthy family, she married the Prince de Lamballe at just 17, a man whose fortune was among the largest in France. However, tragedy struck. Her husband died within a year, leaving her a widow at the astonishingly young age of 18. This unfortunate loss propelled her into the opulent yet perilous world of the French court at Versailles, where she would meet another young foreigner, Marie Antoinette. Their friendship blossomed instantly in a palace filled with artifice. Together, they formed a bond that would become legendary. When Marie Antoinette ascended to the throne as queen, she appointed Lamballe as the superintendent of her household, a role that was both prestigious and intimate. Lamballe was not merely staff. She was considered family. However, this loyalty came at an astounding cost. As public sentiment began to turn against Marie Antoinette, it also targeted her friends. Vicious pamphlets circulated, filled with grotesque allegations and scandalous rumors that twisted Lamballe's close relationships with the queen into tales of secret love affairs and betrayal. The quiet, loyal friend was transformed into a villain in the eyes of the public, a so-called corrupting influence, a supposed spy for Austria and an enemy of France. A massive target was painted on her back, and things were about to escalate dramatically. When the Bastille prison was stormed on July 14, 1789, the world turned upside down. The monarchy began to crumble, and aristocrats fled the country, attempting to escape the growing tide of revolutionary fervor. At that time, Princess Lamballe found herself safe in London. Her friends and family urged her to stay away, to avoid the chaos. Yet her loyalty to Marie Antoinette was unwavering. The queen needed her, and Lamballe believed it was her duty to return. In a heartfelt correspondence, Marie Antoinette implored her to come home, leading Lamballe to write her will, fully aware that she might be walking into her own death. Upon her return to Paris, Lamballe re-entered a city engulfed in turmoil. She was present during the royal family's ill-fated escape attempt and was there on June 20, 1792, when a violent mob stormed the palace. Eyewitnesses noted that throughout the chaos, Lamballe exhibited only concern for the queen's safety, ignoring the peril to her own life. Tragically, that loyalty would cost her everything. On August 10, 1792, the monarchy was completely overthrown. The royal family was imprisoned in a fortress known as the Temple, while Lamballe was separated from Marie Antoinette and confined in La Force prison, one of the darkest and most terrifying places imaginable. By late August 1792, panic gripped Paris. An enemy army was marching toward the city, and revolutionaries feared that unless they acted, the royal family would be rescued and reassert their power. This fear transformed into a frenzy of violence. Convinced that enemies lurked among them, the revolutionaries, led by fervent voices like George's Danton, shouted, "To conquer them, we must dare. Dare again, always dare, and France is saved." However, this daring spirit morphed into a monstrous wave of vengeance. On September 2, 1792, the mob unleashed a frightful killing spree known as the September Massacres, lasting 5 consecutive days. Mobs swarmed the prisons, dragging away men and women, dispensing with the pretense of justice in mock trials lasting mere seconds, before butchered them mercilessly in the courtyards. The streets ran red with blood, while Lamballe, trapped within those very walls, could only listen to the horrifying screams echoing from outside. She was more than just a prisoner. She had become the ultimate prize for the mob. She represented everything they hated. It was only a matter of time before they would come for her. On the morning of September 3rd, 1792, the inevitable arrived. 2 guards entered her cell, and as the killings continued outside, Lamble was taken to face the so-called tribunal. This was no legitimate court. It was a farce of justice, a handful of men seated at a blood-stained table, tasked with deciding who would live and who would die in mere moments. When Lamble walked into the chamber, she was struck by the sight of the courtyard littered with dead bodies. They posed a few questions to her, and she remained remarkably calm amidst the chaos. Then came the ultimate test. They demanded that she swear fealty to liberty and equality while renouncing her loyalty to the king and queen. This was her last chance for survival, yet she boldly refused. "I will readily swear to the first, but I cannot swear to the second." "It is not in my heart," she replied. A man beside her whispered, "Swear? If you do not swear, you are dead." But Lamble, unwavering, stood firm. Another version of events suggests that she calmly stated, "Whether the first die sooner or later is a matter of indifference to me. I have made the sacrifice of my life." The response was immediate. The presiding judge announced, "Let Madame be set at liberty." To any listener, this statement sounded like a reprieve. In reality, it was a sinister signal meant for the mob waiting outside the hidden code that marked her as their prey. Lamble was propelled through the door and thrust towards her executioners. As soon as she stepped into the courtyard, pandemonium erupted. The ground was transformed into a slaughterhouse, painted with bodies and carnage. Incensed, masked faces closed in on her, and what unfolded next is both horrifying and difficult to recount. Eyewitness accounts tell us that this small woman, dressed in white, stood momentarily before chaos engulfed her. In an instant, the first blow struck her from a pike or a hammer, hitting her in the back of the head, causing her cap to fall and her long, golden hair to cascade down. A second blow landed on her forehead and she fell to the ground. The frenzied mob descended upon her, stabbing and bludgeoning her with pikes and sabers. It was a brutal, chaotic scene that ended swiftly, but they were not finished. In an ultimate act of degradation, they severed her head from her body, leaving her remains displayed in the street, stripped bare. Her body was never formally recovered, lost to the annals of time. These details represent the cold, undeniable truths of her death. Lamble was mercilessly executed for her loyalty, her only crime being her steadfastness to Marie Antoinette. The truth is horrifying in its own right. However, what transpired after her murder, along with the myths that arose from it, are even more grotesque. Before we delve further into the grim aftermath and untangle fact from fiction, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Your support helps us explore these dark corners of history, and trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The murder of Princess Lamble did not end with her execution. The mob used her severed head as a weapon, parading it on a pike through the streets of Paris. Their destination? The Temple prison, where they intended to force Marie Antoinette to confront the horror they had inflicted on her closest companion. This was unadulterated psychological warfare. Upon reaching the temple, the mob gathered beneath the royal window, shouting for the queen to come forward and witness the grisly trophy. Some rumors even suggested they wanted Marie Antoinette to kiss the lips of her dead friend. Inside, the royal family heard the terrifying clamor. The king's valet recognized the head and understood immediately what it signified. As Marie Antoinette inquired about the commotion, guards rushed to barricade the window. We do not know if she actually laid eyes on the horror outside, but we do know that a guard bluntly informed her, "They are trying to show you the head of Princess Lamble." Just hearing those words shattered her. Marie Antoinette reportedly let out a scream and collapsed, succumbing to a dead faint, weeping throughout the entire night. The mob had achieved their goal, inflicting a profound psychological wound upon the queen, torturing her by murdering her friend. The haunting image of Lamble's head on a pike would linger with Marie Antoinette, shadowing her for the rest of her life. While the truth of Lamble's tragic story is already horrifying, the grotesque myths that emerged in its wake are even more shocking. For centuries, lurid tales have circulated, weaving in elements of sexual desecration. Stories spread that she was raped, her breasts cut off, and her genitals mutilated. However, this is almost certainly false. Contemporary records, even from those who despised her, do not mention such atrocities. These grotesque embellishments were likely fabricated later, fueled by royalist propaganda aimed at portraying the revolutionaries as inhuman monsters. We even have documented evidence of the items found in her pockets, indicating her body was still clothed at the time of death. Next, there are the rumors of cannibalism. Allegations persisted that her heart was torn out and consumed. Yet again, there is no credible evidence to support this claim. Other myths are just as baseless. One tale claimed her severed head was taken to a hairdresser for styling to make it more presentable for the queen, which never happened. Another romantic fiction suggested she concealed secret messages in her hair, an appealing notion that lacks substantiation. Additionally, the most enduring myth of all is that Marie Antoinette was coerced into kissing the lips of Lambert's decapitated head, scenario that we know from numerous accounts did not occur. Why have these absurd myths persisted? The answer lies in the realms of propaganda and the human fascination with grotesque horror stories. However, by focusing on these fables, we risk losing sight of the real woman at the center of this tragic narrative. The killing of Princess Lambeau was not an execution but a lynching, a collective act of brutality by a mob that viewed her as a powerful symbol rather than recognizing her as an individual. Her death stands as one of the most notorious moments in the entirety of the French Revolution. The verified truth surrounding her end remains chilling. She was a woman who paid the ultimate price for her loyalty, choosing to return to a volatile Paris in solidarity with her friend. For that, she faced a sham tribunal, upheld her principles, and was handed over to a mob, where she was brutally beaten to death and decapitated. Her severed head was then used as a tool of psychological torture against the woman they truly loathed. The reality of Lambeau's fate is horrifying enough without the need for embellishments. It serves as a powerful reminder of how quickly political rage can obliterate empathy, how easily a crowd can devolve into a deadly force, and how a person's life can be reduced to a single vengeful idea. The story of Princess Lambeau is sobering, a testament to the human cost of revolution and the devastation that follows when personal loyalty collides with political fury. It compels us to realize that the most horrifying narratives are not always the fabricated ones. Many are rooted in the grim realities of our history. She remains a tragic figure, remembered more often for the unspeakable savagery of her death than for the life she led. What did you find most shocking about this true story? Do you believe history should focus on the verified facts or also explore the powerful myths that arise? Let us know your thoughts in the comments. And for more deep dives into the dark and often misunderstood chapters of history, make sure to subscribe. Subscribe to our channel and hit the bell to support our work. Never miss an upload. Like this vid, drop a comment, and share it with others to help us grow this historical community.